Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Minstrels on the Block. I am your special guest host, Julian Hernandez. This week, our guest is your normal host, Mr. Brian Mallard.
Hello, Julian.
Hi, Brian. How's it going?
Pretty good. You're doing a fantastic job.
Already?
Already.
Great. I can quit. So we decided to do this because Brian's never been interviewed, right?
That is correct.
So here we are interviewing you. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Excellent. Shall I go ahead and start the questions?
Start.
You're the expert, Brian.
Rock on.
Okay. Where were you born?
I was born, well, my dad was in the military, and they traveled around a lot. And he ended up in Fort Benning, and I was born at Martin Army Hospital in Fort Benning, Georgia. Mm-hmm. He was a sergeant first class and retired as such. He was in Korea. He was on the DMZ for a while. He was a sergeant, and some of that's a little sketchy to me. I'm not entirely sure. I know he was a sergeant first class, and he ended up at Fort Benning.
Gotcha. What did your mother do?
She was pretty much. She did do some jobs along the way. She was a stay-at-home mom. She had. I'm the last of 5 children.
Oh wow!
And she had a full-time job, obviously raising us kids. And but both she and my dad came from around Sumter County, Americus. Mm-hmm. And my mom was the daughter of sharecroppers, and my dad he lived in Plains and was more, I guess, more small town city type guy. And they got married, and so that's where we're from. And so my mom pretty much did that.
So you've lived your whole life in and around the South?
Yes. I actually grew up in Waverly Hall, Georgia, which is about 20 miles north of Columbus. And I moved here to Columbus when I was about 25 and been here ever since.
What time of the day were you born?
That I could not tell you.
No?
The memories of that are a little sketchy. I'll have to get back with you.
Judging by your disposition now, what time of day do you think it was?
Well, considering the fact that I'm absolutely positively nothing approaching a morning person, I'm thinking it must have been at night.
Excellent. I think I was born at night as well.
Yeah.
That's something we have in common, Brian.
Yes.
All right. So how musical was your family growing up?
Well, that's interesting because I had never known of any music in our family. Mm-hmm. I grew up listening. My siblings obviously liked music, and my siblings all had different tastes in music, so I grew up listening to a lot of different types of music. Everything from the Beatles, John Denver, Eddie Rabbitt, the Eagles, the Carpenters, Elvis, Johnny Cash, Marty Robbins, a lot of different people. And so I've always had a love for music, and it wasn't until just a couple of years ago my mom told me that my granddad actually did a little bit of musical stuff. He was in the military as well, and he was a bugler. He was the guy who blew the bugle and woke people up. So he wasn't exactly popular because he was the one that got people out of bed. My dad had a guitar when I was young, but he didn't actually really play it. I mean, he'd sit down and strum it some and sing some songs that he knew, but he wasn't what you would call a musician. Excellent.
So, well, that kind of brings me up ahead in my little list here. What's your favorite bands?
Ooh, I have a lot of favorite bands. My favorite...
Just pick 3, though. I mean, we're on TV.
I would have to say that my 3 absolute favorites, and there's a lot that fall just under this, but my 3 absolute favorites are John Stewart, who sang with the Kingston Trio back in the 60s, and he went out on did Gold in 1979, July You're a Woman in the 60s. John Stewart, Johnny Cash, and John Denver would have to be my 3 favorites.
That's a nice tribunal.
Yeah, it's very diverse.
It seems like you started to talk about this, but when did you first pick up your instrument and start learning and playing music?
When I was a teenager, I guess my late teens, when I was much younger, I used to fantasize about playing in front of people, and I guess a lot of people probably do. And when I was a teenager, I got a guitar, and it's a little fuzzy now exactly what tripped me into that. I know I saw the movie Eddie and the Cruisers, and that kind of lit a fire. Mm-hmm. John Denver's music, the instrumentations in John Denver's music, and so when I was a teenager, I got a guitar, and I was sitting there doing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star and all that stuff. I had no idea, what I was doing. And I was playing, very simple stuff and not really getting very, very far. And it was about that time, a little later into it, that, the producer of this show, Rusty Wood, is a good friend of mine.
Hi, Rusty.
I'd like to give a shout out to Rusty behind the camera over there. He got with me and showed me chords, and that really sparked it off. And then I got married at one point, and I really didn't touch the guitar for 6 years. And I probably would be a lot farther along now had I done it, but didn't touch the guitar for about 6 years. Then I got a divorce, and I picked it back up.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And now you play every week?
Yes, pretty much.
Okay. So how are we doing on this segment's time? Good? Excellent. So I think everyone's wondering this next, talking about your music. What did you have for breakfast today?
Tea.
Just tea?
Just tea.
Was it iced or hot?
It was iced.
Okay.
And a mocha from Fountain City Coffee Shop, which was...
Plug! Fountain City. Fantastic. Wonderful. I had coffee only as well. Yeah. Back to the music. Are you a Beatles man or an Elvis man?
Ooh, I have the utmost respect for the King, but I would have to say I'm a Beatles man.
Right on. Because that was one of the big questions from the outtakes from Pulp Fiction and such. I try to ask a lot of people if they're a Beatles or an Elvis man. So, if you would indulge me a little bit, could you describe your first family pet for us?
Ooh, first family pet. That goes back before my memory. I do remember.
Oh, well, the first one you remember, the first animal you had a connection to.
First animal I had a connection to was probably Sox and Max. There were two. One was black with a curly tail, and one was white terrier. Max
dogs.
Dogs.
Gotcha.
Yes, yeah. Max was mean and would bite, and Sox was just too cool, and he just did his own thing.
Wow. Okay. So you said that your father was in the military. Did he do all of his traveling and stuff before you were born, or was he mostly stationary? He
did a lot of traveling. They were in. He was on the DMZ for a while. He's I'm sure some places that I don't know about. They were in Germany. They were in Texas. My family moved to Maryland for a while. They were all over the place. And my mom's talked a lot about places that they went. And experiences they had, and she talks about how they were going on their way to Texas, and she knew they were in Texas because the radio announcer started talking really slow, really slow, long, drawn out. You could tell the dialect. But they went to all these places, and mostly Texas, I think, was probably the farthest west, and most of it was on the East Coast, and maybe even in Virginia. And then my dad received orders to move to Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh, wow.
And my mom and dad had just bought a house. And my mom was like, we can't move to Anchorage, we just bought a house. So he had it changed, and he got shipped to Fort Benning. And that's where my story begins.
Excellent. Well, did you grow up around all these stories of travel and stuff? I mean,
to an extent, yes.
Because I know you picked, you said Johnny Cash and John Denver. I mean, they have a lot of songs about traveling America and seeing different things.
I think for the most part, my family just loved their music. It was just a matter of just the whole feel, the stories, and they did traveling. Now my uncle, said my mom was the daughter of sharecroppers. They lived on 100 acres of land down in Sumter County that my uncle Horace owned, and my uncle Ken and my brother Walter slept on the front porch of this. It was a slave shack. And he walled in the front porch, and it was their room, and they used to go to sleep at night listening to Johnny Cash on a record. Oh, wow. And I still have those records, actually.
That's fantastic.
I have quite a collection of vinyl. One of these days I'm going to get a record player.
Oh, yeah, well, I have one. You should come by the house. Yeah.
Awesome.
It'll be good. We'll get a 6-pack, listen to records. It'll be fun.
Nice.
All right. Okay, I'm doing on time for segment 1. We doing good? Fantastic. I'm doing a great job.
You are doing a great job.
Congratulations to me.
Congratulations to you.
All right, Brian. So, you said that you grew up. How long did you spend on base, or did you spend time like in the civilian sector? I mean, like, how did you go from being born to living?
Pretty much, I myself never touched bass. Never set foot on bass. Other than if I got sick, I went to Martin Army Hospital. For the most part, I was just always on the family farm out in Waverly Hall, and just grew up there. The military aspect of my family's life was actually pretty far removed from me.
Well, what other hobbies did you have before you actually decided to seriously pursue music?
Many. I used to do some, to an extent, some measure of drawing art, scratch building models. I've always liked using my hands and building things. I am a ham radio operator.
Oh, really?
Which I haven't touched in like 8 years, but I still have the license. I am KF4FZV is my call sign. And then actually the reason I really got out of ham radio was because I got into music, and I decided to pursue music full time. Once I got a divorce, I picked my guitar back up again and started writing songs. I was playing other people's songs, and I was like, you know what? If I'm going to learn songs and play these songs, play other people's songs, I can just write my own. And I started writing my own, and to begin with, they sucked. But
as all of ours did.
They got better. But I got away from the ham radio because I used to run an amateur radio net, which is like an emergency preparedness net, and where everybody checks in and in preparation for something messed up ever happens. And I decided to go to the open mic at the Loft. And that was on Wednesday nights, the same night I was doing the net. So I told the guys, "Hey guys, I can't. I'm pursuing music, so I'm going to be backing out of here." And ever since, yeah.
And you've been very active in the local music community lately.
I have never stopped. I started playing at the Loft, and I've got it on tape. That first shoot that I ever did, old VHS-C camera.
Can we show that? Do we have that footage?
We don't have that
footage. Okay. We don't have that footage.
And trust me, it's buried in the backyard. It was bad, but I was terrified. My guitar didn't plug in. And one thing I really noticed about those performances was how long it took me in between songs. Yeah. It was like, dude, why are you taking so long? Watching the tape, I'm like, you're an idiot. Just play.
Well, obviously you've gotten better at performances, getting up there, setting up your stuff.
I have a lot of people to thank for that. The Loft closed down their open mic, and I went to Soho and started playing there. And I played there for a couple of years. Open mic on Monday night, which was hopping. Then they started a songwriters contest on Tuesday nights, which I did for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Never won, but I stopped going there when they started the random band jam at the Loft, at the Vault. Okay. And they would back you, and that was really the beginning.
Oh, yeah, I've been to one of those. It's fun.
That was really the beginning of my education. Okay. And I had a lot of good input, a lot of unofficial training from people as far as dynamics. And actually, a guest on Minstrels on the Block a couple of weeks ago was Gary Palmer. And he sat me down and gave me a lot of advice that I have adhered to for the last 4 or 5 years. And he's helped me a lot.
Wonderful. Well, in turn, you've passed that along to younger folks like me.
Yes, I do what I can.
Excellent.
I try to make sure.
I think it's about time for you to show us what you can do on the guitar.
I will do my best.
Yeah. We're going to break, and we're going to give a performance by Brian Mallard, all right?